What is going on, people? We are back once again with episode 2 of the Reveal podcast. We've got the prodigal son returning for us today. You got Sam Hogan.
Come on.
To my right hand side.
How you doing, people?
How you doing, bro? I'm good. You're joining us live from BT, yeah?
Yeah, man, come on. Have to stay extra hour, otherwise I won't make the overtime.
But Rue, I know there's the Liverpool games going on, but as I said, just try and focus on us. Like it's a tough one today, but just try and focus on us. How you feeling?
I'll be fine.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the show?
So I got a little bit ahead of myself and wore this. It is a lovely set of threads off ASOS because we've all just seen Arthur to Man United, and now look at
I'm enjoying today.
It's been a crazy weekend, hasn't it?
I don't even. How do you?
It's been a crazy weekend of football, but guys, without much more to say, let's just get straight into it. Again, if you guys were active on our social media at Reveal Footy on Twitter, mainly you would have seen the topics that we've got to discuss today. And number one topic, which I can't personally wait to get into, is Everton's rejuvenation. I've got here just a list of things going on at the moment. Obviously, they've won four games in 4. They've started straight out the blocks, and it seems like Ancelotti seems to have a game plan. And to be fair, I think I want to go to Sam first because we've discussed time and time again. I mean, he's not the main man, but I kind of want to, bring a bit of what would I call it? Maybe just a bit of retribution to Iwobi. In recent weeks, he's been assisting, he's been scoring. And a lot of people said that, he might be done at the top level. Obviously, after moving from Arsenal to Everton, a lot of people would have said that maybe he's finished at the top level and he might not be able to, do anything again. How do you feel on Iwobi? And do you think he's actually finished at the top level?
I think it's harsh to say that he's finished at the top level, but I definitely feel like he's not reached the heights he's supposed to reach. Obviously, when he left Arsenal, I think it was a bit harsh on him because he was kind of forced out of the club. The club needed that £40 million, so they were like, yeah, just go to Everton, like, we need the money. And it was kind of harsh on him because he's been at the club from such a young age. So, of course, he loves them. He wanted to stay and go into a new environment, a new club, especially to a club like Everton, because the time when he went there, it didn't look like Everton were a team that were going to achieve anything this season or even, finish in the top 6. It was just a thing of where, you're going to go there so you can get more playing time, and Everton will probably finish around mid-table. So he from going from a club like Arsenal to Everton, he must have been like, oh damn, like my career is over, kind of thing. Not even career over, but kind of like, I don't feel like I'm going to be like a Champions League type player anymore. I feel like there was a lot of pressure on him. So it kind of maybe demotivated him a little bit. But I think now that Ancelotti's come in, you're getting the likes of Rodriguez and all these players coming in, Calvert-Lewin's hitting form. You're starting to see like, wow, you know what? This team can actually do something. Like we can actually start competing with the likes of Arsenal. So I think now, I wouldn't say that he's reaching form, but I think, it's not going to be the same as when he first walked into Everton. I think he's going to start picking up the pace and taking his chances coming off the bench more.
Picking up from what Sam said, I want to move next to Nigel. Sam, everything absolutely valid. Nigel's it's popped out. I think I'll go to Felix. Yeah, I'll go to Felix with this one then. We're looking at the 3 signings in particular. Allen, who they signed for £21 million, 21.7 give or take. James Rodriguez, 20 million. And Abdoulaye Doucouré, 20 million. Now that is obviously a midfield 3 that they've been using since the start of the season. What do you think has worked so far for Everton? Like looking at the 3 signings that they've brought in here, is this like a claim to say that maybe perhaps these 3 are the ones that have kind of turned the clock in the right direction for Everton?
I'd say so. Because I mean, with any team, the midfield is the sort of the bridge between the defense and their attack. So if you can get the midfield balance right, then you're a well-oiled machine. Because I mean, I rate Allen, I rate Doucouré, James Rodriguez. he had his moments where he was, he struggled at Real Madrid, give or take. But then at Bayern Munich, he picked it up a little bit. But so far, coming into the Premier League and, putting in the performances that he's put in, he's really turned some heads. Because a lot of people were thinking that maybe he might actually be finished at the top level. And people weren't really looking at him going to Everton thinking, oh, he's downgraded or whatever. But he has really turned the corner and he has really taken Everton to another level from what we've seen so far. So I genuinely think that midfield additions that have been made to Everton have really turned a corner for them.
I think with James Rodriguez, three goals now, popping in with his playmaking style and everything. For me, I've always said that with Rodriguez being added to the numbers, it's adding quality. I keep saying that if Rodriguez didn't have quality, although it may have not have worked as much for Real Madrid, and maybe not, he wasn't actually that bad for Bayern Munich. Don't get me wrong, but I think he wouldn't be playing for the likes of Real Madrid or Bayern Munich if he didn't have a level of quality. Now, looking at a team like Everton, would you say, again, Felix, would you say that it's more the, if you will, Champions League quality that they've added? Because even someone like Allen playing with Napoli has played Champions League football. Would you say that is the Champions League quality that they've added that might have taken them to that new level now?
Yeah, I would think so. Because I'd say so. Because obviously Allen playing in Champions League with Napoli previous season, James has been for with Real Madrid and also Bayern Munich playing Champions League football. Just playing football at that elite level. I mean, Doucouré played for Watford, but Doucouré has always been a player that has been highly rated in the Premier League to be snapped up by some top clubs. So Everton snapping him up is a great deal for them. So those players with they're playing at different clubs, different top clubs, not just any other club, like Champions League clubs, and them coming in with their experience and their sort of level and where they've played at to come in and add a different level of steel. Obviously with Ancelotti, who has won many trophies at the elite level as well, bringing in that philosophy and that mentality, it all seems to be working together for them at the moment.
Fair enough. And Root, I don't mean to bring in the whole aspect of Liverpool here, but looking at Everton and Liverpool, obviously them being the Merseyside rivals and everything, is there a side of you, being a Liverpool supporter, that kind of fears to play Everton now?
It's a weird one because it's really nice to be everyone talking about the city of Liverpool again and how it's these two teams in Liverpool doing bits of the Premier League rather than it all being about our neighbours Manchester. So that I've enjoyed seeing Everton do well, but yet at the same time, when did we play them last? December? I was in a pub and we were mocking them about not winning a trophy since '95, and now I'm thinking they might actually give stuff a go here, and I'm kind of nervous. I don't necessarily like the idea that we're heaping all this praise on them in a minute, because so far their only test has been Spurs, and they scraped that one. Every other game they've played a team who's probably going to be in a relegation scrap. So I'm nervous to play them because we've got them next on the 17th, especially now that Aston Villa are having fun with us and throwing us around the park. But I'm excited to play them, but I think they need to stir the test before we can sit there and go, Ancelotti's cracked it with these. So we'll see.
And Nigel, I'm going to come to you next with this one as well with Everton. Can you just tell us a little bit about, just firstly, have you been impressed with them so far? Do you think, and in terms of what Ancelotti's doing, while you were coming back on, we were talking about, the signings that they've made with Allen, 21 million, James Rodriguez, Doucouré, adding, and we were talking about how, Allen and Rodriguez are Champions League quality that they've added to their side. Looking at the way, things are going, and even Sam mentioning with Calvert-Lewin firing at the moment, more or less either almost or definitely in double figures now at this point in the season. Would you say that you're impressed with what they're doing?
Impressed to a certain extent, but I didn't expect them to be flying high so well. But then again, we need to remember what Ancelotti has done in the past. Ancelotti is a very experienced, highly rated manager, if one of the best in the world. He's done it with AC Milan. He's done it with Chelsea. Even with Napoli, I think they won. Well, I know they didn't win. That was under Gattuso. But even under Napoli, they were a threat, and I think they faded off towards the end. Ancelotti has got the pedigree. He's got the resume. I think the issue with Everton is they've always made signings, but it's never been balanced. Like, they'll sign top players, but then their back four is never up to scratch. I think this time round, with him coming in midway last season, he's managed to negate where the issue is. I don't think he's even signed much centre halves really, but he's got them playing a certain system. He's got. I think Allen is the key signing to all of them. Allen and Decore. I've always rated Decore at Watford, and I think those two can get. Allen likes to sit, break up play, and just distribute, and Decore gets up and down, and then it makes it easier for the likes of Hammers. People keep saying it can Hammers adapt, but if you've got someone like Decore with Premier League experience that can get up and down the pitch, it makes his job a lot easier. My surprise is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because I'll be honest with you, I never really rated him. I didn't see what the hype was about. He just seemed fast and just ran like a headless chicken. Didn't really have any sense of the game. But credit to Ancelotti, he's managed to put his arm around him and told him, listen, you're a complete striker. Play the way you're playing. And for some reason, the boy just can't stop scoring right now. So credit to Ancelotti. I don't think we'll see them in the top two per se, but I reckon they'll be beating a lot of teams around the top six, and they will break into the top six this season. I think so.
I fully agree. And finally, just a quick question to all of you. In terms of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and how impressive he's been, the thing that sort of like stands out for me is the fact that he hasn't really been scoring tap-ins or anything like that. They've been like a wide range of goals, different goals. You've got headers in there. He's latching onto the ball and his finishes have been brilliant. Again, do you think it's because of? I mean, obviously he's growing now. He's been in and around the Everton team for a couple of years now. Wasn't really a regular starter before, but he kind of obviously over time now it looks like he's grown into a striker. But again, I think I really want to hammer home the point that although Nigel, as you said, they do make signings, and again, this is a question for everybody. So anyone that wants to jump in, but although Nigel, you mentioned that they do make signings, I think the one thing I want to highlight, because obviously over the years they've signed people like Richarlison, that's a big name, someone like Yerry Mina as a centre back and all of that kind of stuff. But I really, really want to hammer home these three in particular, because I think in terms of these three, I'm not too sure if had they not have been included in the Everton lineup this season, I'm not too sure if we'll be seeing what we're seeing from Everton right now. And that's the statement I want to make. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that perhaps it might be Ancelotti and his game plan that might have, sort of created what we're seeing before us right now?
I think it's Ancelotti, I can't lie. Because like you were saying, Everton have signed big players in the past, but they've just not produced. Like, even if you look at, like, who have been the Everton managers in the past? Like, before Ancelotti was what? Duncan Ferguson, Marco Silva. Do you know what I mean? It's not really, they're not Ancelotti level, let's be real. They're not winners like Ancelotti. So the fact that someone like that has come into the team, you have to wake up or you're getting dropped. He came out in an interview the other day saying that Yannick Bolasie has no space in the team. And that's fair enough, because you can see what he wants to do with the side. He doesn't believe like a player like Yannick Bolasie at 31 is going to be able to take his team to the next level. So if and the thing is, he even said that Yannick Bolasie is working hard in training. But if if you're not producing on a pitch, then it is what it is. You're going to get dropped. So I think it's that winning mentality and the fact that they've got a top manager coming in that's just changed the game for them. And right now they realistically they're the only team that look like finishing it in the top two right now. Let's be real.
Does everyone agree with that statement? I back it. But
I mean, yeah, I'll agree but disagree as well, because I do want to pick up on a point that Rue made, that as well as they have played so far in the first 4 games, they haven't actually played anyone in the top half yet, bar Tottenham, and that they scraped the win. But I mean, once they play and once they fare up against the big boys, as you will, later on in the season, that's when we'll really get to see how and what Ancelotti's plan and how it's going to pan out. Because so far, as well as they have played, let's be honest, the teams that they have played have been, the lower league table sides. So it's
at the
early
same
days,
time,
yes, but
at the same
on,
time,
bro.
I hear you, but at the same time, I think it's a thing of where, like, Arsenal used to be in the same situation where they'd lose or draw or maybe scrape 1 or 2 wins against top six sides and still scrape the top 4. So I think a team like Everton could be able to do the same thing, especially if, the likes of City are losing the way they've been losing, Liverpool are losing, I think they'll be able to do something like that. And let's not forget Man United.
The reaction just popped up on his
Man.
face.
No, I definitely agree with that, Sam. For me, I'll definitely say top 6. They'll really challenge for the top 16. Top 4, I feel like we have to wait and see if, because obviously the Premier League is a marathon and not a sprint, so we have to see later on down the line how they fare. But definitely top 6 for me. They'll challenge.
Well, I think obviously as the season goes on, we're just going to have to keep an eye on Everton, but I definitely think they're actually going to be dark horses. For me, as I keep saying, those signings that they've made, I see them as clutch signings that could really take a team from mid-table to the next level. So we'll see how they do. But again, let's move on. And the next topic that we're going to talk about is Bielsa, and in particular Leeds United. I can't lie to you. Watching Leeds United play Arsenal last season, I was scared of them from then. Now they've come into the Premier League, and obviously we saw the first game, 4-3 against Liverpool. Unfortunately, just getting beaten at the last moment. I'm sorry, we're mentioning Liverpool a lot. It's unfortunate. 4-3 against Liverpool, and they were unfortunately just beaten there. If you look at their record at the moment, they've won 2 out of 4 matches, and out of the 4 matches that they've won, they've played arguably the 2 best teams in the league, which is Manchester City and Liverpool. And we sort of talk about some of their bright spots, like Elna Costa. You got Patrick Bamford as well, who's scoring as well. And on top of that, they've added a striker from La Liga, Rodrigo, who actually got them the equalizer last season. Now, I'm going to go to Felix first. What impresses you most about this Leeds United side and the way they play?
For me, it's their attack and how formidable it is. I mean, we saw in the game against Liverpool, arguably on the day, Liverpool were just a better side. But from what we saw from Leeds United, they, literally every time they came forward, they looked a threat. They looked like they were going to score a goal. And even in the game against Fulham as well, where they edged 4-3, it's just it's almost like they just know how to score goals now. It's just the pace in which they attack and how they're able to just link up the play and come forward is very impressive. And I'm really impressed with what Bielsa has done with them.
On top of that, though, how do you feel about the striker like Rodrigo Moreno, in terms of would you expect them to be getting such a signing, especially just coming up from Championship level? Would you actually expect them to be signing a player like this at the moment?
I'll be honest, no. It was a surprise signing for me. I mean, I know Rodrigo from the La Liga. I'm not going to say I watch the Liga, but I do know, and he is one of the I say top end strikers.
You play FIFA. We all play FIFA, so we know about the pace.
Yeah, that's the side note. That's where I found out about him. But But no, it is definitely a signing that when I saw it, I was thinking, Leeds getting Rodrigo. I would have thought you go to, your, I don't know, probably maybe a City or something that will be looking for a striker like that. But yeah, I mean, we ain't seen much of him yet. So I feel like it's maybe early days to judge how well he will sit in the team and whatnot. But it is a really good signing for them.
I'm going to skip over to Nigel next. For you, I'd like to know, do you think Leeds United definitely finishing in the top 10 this season, or do you think that they're going to be in the bottom half of the table?
100% top half of the season. 100%. I think they're at Ellen Road. They're going to be a tough team to beat. We saw that with Man City yesterday, and I'm even scared for Arsenal. Tottenham is going to be long. Chelsea is long for them as well. I think the way they press in numbers, especially if, like, hopefully we get to see fans back in the stadium, because team going to Ellen Road with the atmosphere and the way they press, oh Lord, it's long. It's absolutely long still. But I genuinely believe they're going to be a few teams in the top 6. They'll finish in the top half. And yeah, I'd like to see Bielsa stay after this year as well. I'd like to see him stay and hopefully get more signings. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I like them, man. I watched his documentary, everything about him. I like them and I like the club. So long live Bielsa.
And with you, Sam, moving on, do you think, as Nigel mentioned before, with if you want the top 6 or some of the big teams in the league at the moment, obviously we're going to come on to Tottenham and United later on in the show, but how many of those teams do you think will actually give Leeds United a problem? Well, obviously mentioning the fact that so if we talk about the top 6, the big guys, obviously looking at the fact that they've played the 2 best ones, who else do you think is left that might actually give them an issue?
I actually can't give you one because the likes of Arsenal, Spurs, and Chelsea would go to City and Liverpool and struggle. Do you know what I mean? But Leeds United have played these 2 teams and they've shown discipline. I think the only L they've taken so far is the League Cup game. I'm just like, wow, like this team's proper strong. And like I agree with Nigel, like I want Bielsa to stay because this is why I think the Premier League is the best league in the world. Like, despite what happens in the Champions League and how English teams get knocked out, especially last season, that was just, let's not even get into that. But the fact that a team can get promoted and, be not, I'm not going to say they're challenging, but, they're putting pressure on teams that have been in there for years, and the fact that they can come in there and do that, it means that, English football is just the best. That's all I can say.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. So I'm going to take it to Rue next and ask you, do you think this is far-fetched? Top 6 Leeds United. Obviously, looking at the fact that they've come close to beating Liverpool. They've drawn with City. We've just discussed the fact that they're not. It looks like it's not even possible for anyone else in the league to actually give them a problem. If you have that in mind, do you actually think Leeds United could actually make it into the top 6 this season?
I do. I don't think it's far-fetched. I mean, how many times last season did a team turn up to somewhere like Liverpool or City? Like in our game alone with Liverpool, they had 3 shots on target all game. All 3 they scored. They are so ruthless, so clinical with their attack. And we've seen that, plenty of times this season. We've seen how good they can be where they can completely turn a game like they did yesterday. They were completely overrun for 20 minutes, and then for the remaining 70, it was all Leeds. They have shown their qualities that other teams don't really have, and I think they've got what it takes to do top 6, because if you look at teams like Man United this evening, for instance, all right, let's compare what Leeds have done so far, and let's compare with what we've just seen Solskjaer's United do for 90 minutes there. You expect Man United to be a nailed-on favourite for top 6, wouldn't you? But then when you compare them and Leeds, who would you rather? They've shown more credentials than, and I think the way that the league has been dominated by Liverpool and City, I feel like everyone has stepped up massively. But for Leeds, it hasn't been sort of, we survived another season. This is, we are Leeds. We want rebuild the image that we once were. We were once the English footballing powerhouse. So they're not here to just do a Fulham, for instance, because if you look at the way Fulham have come up, they're going to get absolutely finished. They're showing potential. They're showing that, okay, we can finish off teams like Sheffield, we can get through teams like Fulham, and we can compete with the best. So I don't think it's far-fetched, and I think people shaming Bielsa and being surprised at Rodrigo going to Leeds, it's bizarre because, yes, they're not the Leeds they once were, but it's still one of England's biggest teams. Just because they're buried away in the Championship for 16 years doesn't mean that all that legacy has died. They are Leeds. They will give it a really good go. I'm so passionate about Leeds.
Sounds like you're supporting the wrong team, mate.
No, he's not here to muck around. Bielsa's got a very good way of doing things. And, I mean, there's a picture of him somewhere on Twitter studying for a team in a Costa Coffee in Wetherby. Like he's not around,
I mean, the man quite obviously just lives and breathes football. And if you want to, if you don't even want to look at his pedigree or everything else that he's achieved, and everything that he's actually managed to do to revolutionize the game, you just have to look at the way, some of his Spanish comrades, if you will, talk about him with Pep Guardiola. Obviously, having nothing but praise, talking about how some of the stuff that he actually learned to become as high as he is right now, he actually got from Bielsa himself. And one thing that I'm gonna throw in there that I'm not too sure if anyone's mentioned is the thing that I hate and love most about Leeds United is they play with an incredible amount of energy. It's I think it was during the Liverpool game is when they were talking about it, and as I said, we saw glimpses of them from last season, and they mentioned it then as well that whenever it comes to training, Bielsa ramps up the fitness work. He expects 110% from each player every game in training every single day. So it's almost as if he's one of those managers where if your legs ain't numb by the end of the session, then you ain't working hard enough.
Even Rio Ferdinand called their training sessions robotic, fam.
And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because of the amount of energy they seem to exert on the pitch. But it kind of becomes what you see in front of us. And for me, is no wonder that they actually won the championship last season, because if they're coming up here and they're doing this to the likes of what we have in the Premier League now, then clearly they were way too good for what was happening in the championship. But for me, I think I have to back Korea, and I'm sure no one's actually disagreed. I think I personally, with the kind of season we're seeing right now, I'm not even sure if the 4-time whistle's gone between Liverpool and Aston Villa just yet. But with the kind of season
Can I just drop something quickly though?
Go for it.
Just to play devil's advocate, if you will. I'm just thinking, because if we remember Norwich last season, when they came up, they had a similar sort of run at the beginning of the season as well. But they sort of fell off and ended up finishing bottom of the league. So, I mean, look, I'm not taking anything away from Leeds United. They've been brilliant so far. But are we getting ahead of ourselves a little bit? It's just a question that I'm asking.
I think I have to agree with Felix a little bit as well.
I agree with Flex still. I agree with him.
I think for me, it's not that I don't agree. It's obviously a very good point. But for me, I think the players are one thing, but the pedigree of the manager speaks for itself as well. And I think if a manager expects a certain level of football regularly, with I'm not too sure if did Norwich have Falke at the time? Was it still Falke?
Yeah, Falke.
Yeah, I mean he did well for him, but he's not Bielsa. It's one of those things. But no, I fully understand. It's one of those things where I think at this present moment in time, we're just excited. I'm excited to watch that. I'm not going to be excited once they actually play my team, but I'm excited to watch them, to see.
I think it's true. Something fresh, something new, and it just makes the Premier League even the more exciting.
Yeah, but on the list next up that we're gonna get into. And I think with this one, I think it's more for the player, and what the player can actually achieve, not just at international level, but obviously when a player plays for club and internationally, you're always expecting them to, wherever they go, they're learning. Wherever they go, they're growing. So we're going to be talking about Bukayo Saka's England call up. I think it made some people. It was a bittersweet moment, I believe, probably for him as well, if I'm honest. And I think it's a bittersweet moment for Africans, and I suppose just a sweet moment for England, maybe. But I want to start off with Sam, obviously, given Saka's heritage and his background. And obviously everyone, who's in contact with Reveal knows that our main focus is African footballers, and that's kind of where we aim our attention towards as and when. But just tell us what you think about this international call up, first of all, and what it, how you kind of felt when you received the news.
Obviously, I'm gutted. But first of all, I need to say that I can't hate the guy for choosing England. At the end of the day, it's his choice. Obviously, a part of him feels like he can flourish more at England. So I don't think anyone should have a say on his decision. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm just imagining him in that Nigeria lineup, that front three, and I'm just like, Saka, Osimhen, Chukwueze. We could have done something special, but at the end of the day, it's his choice, and I just wish him the best. But at the same time, it's kind of sad to see because he's not the first player of African heritage to go and play for England or play for France or play for Spain, and it seems to be happening more and more nowadays. And I'm just like, I'm starting to feel like a lot of these players are forgetting, where they're coming from. And I was even speaking to someone the other day, and they were like, "Can you imagine the likes of, let's just put him in there, Saka, Pogba, Mbappe, playing for countries from their African heritage?" They said that the African Cup of Nations would be like the World Cup.
Yeah, it would. It would.
Probably even better, if I'm honest.
The quality of players,
in the day, we would have had the likes of Zidane playing for Algeria. Think about it. So, picturing that just makes me upset at the fact that, we haven't had that. And sometimes I just always want to know the reason why, players pick, let's say, European countries over African countries, because I've heard a lot that our African teams don't have the facilities for me to flourish, or I'm not going to get enough limelight like I would playing for England, which I can understand. But in my opinion, I feel like it takes that one person to take that leap of faith, and to make a change. Like Zaha switching allegiances from England to Ivory Coast was a huge statement. It won't. Yeah, he was born in Nigeria, but growing up in England and still picking Nigeria was a huge statement. Turning England down, it's things like that will help progress. I think players, growing up in Europe playing for African countries.
It's true. I kind of want to bounce to Rue for a sec. Rue, obviously, you being of Scottish descent, part of Great Britain, if you will, and everything, and being within Europe and everything, you see some of these players. I don't mean to make things too deep, but you see some of these players, like we're talking about with Bukayo Saka now, switching his allegiances, obviously from a Nigerian background, but decided to go with England. When you see things like that, because obviously for us it's a bit different, being of African descent. But are you proud just to have some of these guys actually represent, all these European teams? Would you feel any way if they actually decided to just go the other way and actually support the country that they've sort of like been nurtured in growing up?
I think it's a shame that there's so much of a draw to European nations for some of these players. I don't quite understand this. Like, I get it that there's, the Euro. Oh Christ, it's 5-1.
Oh, geez.
I don't believe it. I thought you saw it, bro.
You have completely thrown him off his train of thought.
Liverpool 5-1.
Is it Ross Barkley? Is it just that one signing?
Listen, Marquee and Greenish link up. It's a problem still.
I can't believe this. All right, Rue, try and collect yourself and try and remember where you were.
Barkley.
Ross Barkley, box, games gone. Look, I think it's a shame that everyone is so transfixed with trying to get into European team. I understand that, there might be sort of a viewpoint that the European Championships is bigger than Africa Cup of Nations, but I just feel like the system has become so overly congested here with people fascinated with the idea of playing with European teams that, it making it more difficult for themselves in a sense. There's so many talents who are trying to get into an England squad that I'm thinking you're gonna do yourself more favours having a go with, if you've got links to an African nation, why are you afraid of, taking a leap of faith and going and playing for them rather than being sort of third, fourth, fifth, sixth choice, whatever. I mean, I look particularly I'm not 100% sure on some players' nationalities, but I'm looking at sort of England's right-back situation where everyone's starting to talk about Tariq Lamptey wanting to play for England and everything. And I see the list of 6 different right-backs that are all sort of fighting for an unbelievably congested spot. And I'm thinking, why is there such a fascination with wanting to be the 6th choice right-back for a European team when you could be in man for your sort of your nation? I'm not sure which nation Lamptey can associate himself with.
Oh, no.
Probably Ghana, yeah.
Ghana. Why not? Why not go play with Ghana? Ghana are regulars in a World Cup. Ghana have done well in Africa Cup of Nations. Why
We
not?
ain't been for a while, but yeah. go.
Oh, that's better. Why not go and play in Ghana? And, why not go and do something there? Because if you look at England's right-back situation, you've got Tariq Lamptey sitting in a queue. Take away the middle of this queue. You've already got him sat behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's stiff competition. He fit right into Ghana's side. And it's not like it's a bad choice to go and play for Ghana, is it? It is just this false sort of fascination that the only answer is European football. Or I hate
the mentality, though. Sorry to interrupt, but I think the mentality is that, like, for example, someone like Tariq Lamptey would look at himself and be like, I'm better than all these other 5 guys. So what makes it so what's the reason why I can't be the starter in this team? Do you know what I mean? He would look at himself and be like, I'm better than TAA, I'm better than all these other guys. So, I can start at the World Cup for England in that right back position. He wouldn't look at himself as, I'm 6th choice. So I think that's what it is, They're like, as soon as I get that England call up, I'm gonna try and make my mark because I could actually start for this country.
I think I tend to
sorry,
go on, Felix, go on. I tend to agree with
what I was going to say with I'll leave you to go.
I tend to agree with Rue because I get what Simon's saying about most athletes have an ego. It is what it is, and it's not a bad thing. It just makes you it makes you a better player. It makes you hungrier and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that there is a sense of false fascination, if you will, that you're more likely to succeed and be honored and covered in glory by making your way to a European side rather than going to your birth side. But at the same time, I can understand what Sam is talking about in terms of ego. But for me, I think I lean more towards the mentality of you being more likely to win things with European allegiances rather than playing for Africa. But go on, Felix. I'm not sure if you had anything to add to
you said the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because it's like it is that fascination with I'm playing for quote unquote the better team on the world stage. So really, I'll get more. Okay, not so much more exposure because if you do well in the eyes of people a lesser or less good side, then you get that exposure there. But if you're playing for an England, let's say, and they for the shock get far in the World Cup, then no disrespect to England, but come on, them doing well in the World Cup or a Brazil or a top nation like that doing well on the world stage, then the more likely you are to win those sort of medals and accolades.
I think I want to bounce to Nigel, and I wanted to ask you, Nigel, do you think Bukayo Saka picking England, do you fear for his opportunities, if I'm honest? Because I think that would be everybody's biggest fear. I mean, you hear with Sam talking about Iwobi picking Nigeria, and me and Sam always discuss this and the level that Iwobi kind of reaches whenever he doesn't do well, even at the time while he was at Arsenal. Whenever he doesn't do well at club level, whenever he puts on that Nigerian show, he just turns into a completely different animal. And he's one of the regulars in that side. And in terms of with Nigeria going to the World Cup, African Cup of Nations, they went far. Unfortunately, I think was it semi-finals you guys got beaten just before the final. But do you fear for Bukayo? Like now that he's picked England, do you fear for his opportunities in the side?
I wouldn't say fear. I just feel like he's most likely going to be put in a position that he doesn't want to play, which will be the left back position. Because obviously, right about now, England call up Chilwell's back now, but they haven't really got, like, you see the right back side of right back players. There's loads of players available to play, quality players to play right back. On the left back side, they're quite limited. So unfortunately, I feel like they might consider him on playing a left back rather than him playing further forward. So that's not taking away anything from Bukayo Saka's call up, because I think it's deserved. But I think mainly because he's a left-footed player, he kind of like, it's easy for him to make the step up. He's been playing with under 21s. Whereas if he was to play for Nigeria, he'll be playing in the front three. He'll be possibly the star of the team as well, because he plays for Arsenal and he's a quality player. But with him playing for England, I think they'll move him around in certain positions just to not fill in the blanks, because that's a bit harsh to say, but fill in the blanks basically.
And even just bouncing off what Nigel said, yeah, the thing is, in the England squad, you can get called up 1 week, and then the next international break, if you haven't played well for your club, you're getting dropped. I feel like in a lot of these African countries, even if you look at, it doesn't matter how bad Jan plays, he gets called up for Ghana. Doesn't matter how bad Iwobi would play, he gets called up for Nigeria. Like, your place is secured in your national team, and you can have trust in your national team. Whereas if you look at Gabia Bonglahor, when he was doing so well at Villa, got called up for England, played less than 5 games and never got called up again.
Yeah,
I'm just like, it's things like that where you have to. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's so congested and there's so much competition, you have to actually think about, which country can I play for and actually get 50 to 100 caps? That's what you should be aiming for. Do you know what I mean? And like, Victor Moses played for under 21s England, went to Nigeria. He has an international trophy, and England still haven't won one since 66. So
yeah, that's a good comparison there. So
it's true. I think with Bukayo Saka, the one thing that I say is, obviously at this point, as we mentioned with Zaha, and him changing allegiances, you see it, more regularly now than ever. Even when we look at Andy Delors, at 16.
I didn't want to say it, but
I can't hold it in.
Do you know what? I saw everyone's face change. I
tried to hide it still. I tried.
I'm sorry, I won't type the scores anymore.
No, it's coming. Because I want to know. No, but as I was saying, with players like Andy Delors changing from France to Algeria, and even Sam, as you mentioned, like, all of these previous stars, like someone like Zidane, being able to play for Algeria instead of France, it's never too late. And quite frankly, even if you look at what happened with Gabia Bonglahor and others like that, I think after a while, I didn't take Saka's call up to England as the final thing at all. I honestly thought it might be a chapter for him to start, and if he continues the way he's going, who knows? Maybe he could be the main man in that England team. But me personally, with the way Africans love their stars, with the way Africans love, especially with a team like Nigeria, they love their stars abroad, and they take really good care of them. So if things weren't to work out for Saka at England, I'm sure Nigeria would literally welcome him with
open arms, mate.
They're more than ready to take it in. But just to finish off the podcast, we're doing what we do every week, and we're going to look at the marquee matchups. Although right now I feel like we should be talking about Liverpool and the state of them, but
not Liverpool.
You might as well just review that, to be honest, because again,
this is incredible. But unfortunately, that's not the marquee matchup for this week. And probably more fortunately, we have an even bigger Titan clash to dissect, if you will. Manchester United.
Don't call Villa Titans.
Manchester United versus Spurs. I think the biggest shock in this one for me and obviously being here with Felix, I think we missed like the first 10 minutes of the game. And by the time we looked at the scores, we were like, what the heck? Like, we probably just missed the most amazing start to a game, this season anyway. But I think I've got a few points here. And I'm going to give this to Felix first. this is obviously taken. We're not talking about the gameplay. We're gonna go into that pretty soon. But for me, obviously, I just want to talk about the big decision that changed the match, and that was that red card for Tony Martial or Anthony Martial. Refereeing in the Premier League is a real problem, isn't it?
Oh, well, I feel like this season so far we've seen some very questionable decisions, and this one literally just adds to the list. Because, don't take anything away from what Martial did. It was warranting a red card, but at the same time, looking at Lamela, literally seconds before, why was that not looked at? Why was that not even discussed? I mean, I'm pretty sure Anthony Taylor, I think that was the referee, he saw what Martial did, but then why was it not, taken to VAR or anything? And that's VAR is another topic in itself, because obviously that aids referees in making their decisions and helping the game flow. But so far, with the inconsistencies of VAR, it's not really painting referees in a good picture. So I think to discuss referees, we also have to bring in, the topic of VAR and how much really and how inconsistent it has been in helping referees make their decisions.
For me, it's just such a mess, because I kind of look at that decision and I liken it to some of the crazy things we've seen, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm thinking to myself, who is running VAR at the moment? Like, are they just picking people randomly like they do for jury duty in the public service or something? Who actually goes to Stockley Park to look at this stuff? Because the kind of things that I feel like when VAR wasn't a thing, we were seeing better refereeing.
Yeah, 100%.
And now that we have, a way to review it. But for me, the refereeing thing is very true. But let's look at the game quickly for a second. It's never easy, and I don't want to take any credit away from Tottenham. We've got a few questions in the comment section that we're going to go to. But I don't want to take anything away from Tottenham. And let me come to Rue first, because obviously I know you were watching the game. We all were, but it's not easy to be a 10-man side. But Tottenham made it easy, did they not?
I don't think it mattered if there was a 13-man side in front of Tottenham. They were making it. For the first goal they gave away, Maguire pulled his own man, Luke Shaw, away from the ball, who was about to clear it. They were, come on. You could have put 30 men just all lined up, tightly fit in that goal. They'd somehow find a way through. They have so many problems at the back, and I liken it to Liverpool when we had defensive problems and we had a solid leader like Van Dijk come in, and he has transformed the way they defend. When you look at what Harry Maguire's influence has been on their back four, he's made them He's made them progressively worse, and I just don't understand how you can do that. Like, I don't understand how anyone can be worth 80 million and somehow be valued to be the world's most expensive, best centre-back, whatever, who's literally pulling down his own man and tackling his own man and marking his own players. Like, I don't get it. And I want to say Tottenham were good, but it was just so disorganised. And yet, you've got Son and Kane. That's more than enough. They were just completely pulverising them. And I really enjoyed it, because it's so good to see, it's good to see Tottenham finally prove how clinical they can be. But at the same time, it's, I just don't understand how Man United have gone so wrong.
Nigel, I remember last week we've got the famous quote from you talking about Manchester United. But I kind of want to look at another thing that you actually mentioned, and I think it proved another problem again today. Paul Pogba. I think last week I remember you mentioned that the system that they're playing in, and he keeps losing the ball. And honestly, I lost track of the amount of times the ball got stolen from him today, deep in their own half. Do you, again, might seem like a bit of an obvious question or a stupid question, but are they using Pogba because at the moment, I even remember earlier today, there's talk of him having another 5-year deal with United. Now, they're negotiating that as we speak. do you think they're actually using him to the best of his ability at the moment? And if they're going to be doing this for the next 5 years, then what realistically are United looking to achieve?
Honestly, like I said, Solskjaer is a good car salesman, bro. Like, and he's getting found out now. He's getting found out, bro. Like, I'm not being funny, but Pogba won the World Cup, yeah, with 3-man midfield. They've gone and put him in a holding midfield position. Everyone knows Pogba he loves to drop the shoulder. He loves to hold on to the ball, and he does, I wouldn't say careless things, but he does the wrong things in the wrong places on the pitch. Put him further field, so if he loses the ball, you've got enough man to recoup and get in position, so you're not caught on the break. And I said it, I genuinely believe that Bruno Fernandes should be playing more of a holding position because he can do the late runs in, and Pogba should be playing in that free with Rashford and Greenwood, so that way he can get into the positions where he can draw fouls because he's got good. Let's be honest, his technical ability is class, and he can spray that ball from any angle on that final third to the likes of Rashford, to the likes of Martial, to the likes of Greenwood. Playing him in that position where in front of the back four is a liability. Let's be honest. And sometimes he kind of, I feel like his concentration is not there as well. Because sometimes I genuinely feel he don't want to be there anyways. But like, play him in the midfield of free. That way he's more secure. So if he loses the ball, you got enough man to cover up for him. That's just that simple. But Ollie's at the wheel, isn't it? Ollie's at the wheel. I called my boy when there was 4-1 down. I said, bro, what's going on? He goes, fam, I'm starting to lose faith in Ollie. I said, Ollie, now you're only losing faith now. I lost faith from day, bro. It took you 4-1 to lose faith. But they finished third, didn't it? They finished third.
I'm seeing 7-2. I'm seeing 7-2.
7-2.
That's what made me react like that. Sorry, guys.
I'm seeing 7-2. This is incredible stuff. And then from time we're seeing Aston Villa.
The team that almost got relegated last season.
We did won the Premier League anyway.
Do you know
this
what?
Is upsetting, bro.
Can I just add, yeah? Like, people forget, yeah, to win the Premier League is a massive achievement, yeah. But when the hunties become the ones that are now hunted, there's a lot more pressure now because everyone is now gonna turn up for you, man. And people, and that's why I got to give, as much as I beef Man United, yeah. So Alex Ferguson, year by year, he knew man them will come to Old Trafford and try and get a result, but he always made sure them man were on the level of, like, they never slipped up. He never allowed that room for slipping up.
Definitely.
And like now we're seeing Liverpool. Yes, 2 seasons, yeah, we saw them. They were top, but to repeat what they're gonna do for a first season, it's gonna be hard now because everyone's gonna turn up for you, man. But
Sure.
But you man are still good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. Obviously, this is just a bad day in the office. But I can't lie, bro. Sure.
Look, the office for 15 minutes.
Oh, I can't lie.
I'm gonna go look at it. I'm gonna go watch the highlights after this. But yeah, moving on with the Man United Spurs game. We have obviously as Rue mentioned earlier, Maguire. I still can't believe what I saw. I think he literally looked like he just woke up from a nap. Like the way he started the game. I remember the ball went into the area while he was there. He headed it into Bailly instead of heading it back where it came. In the end, the ball ended up in the box. Once it got played into the middle of the 6-yard area, Luke Shaw was trying to defend it, and here comes your captain yanking Luke Shaw's arm off the ball, attempting to clear it, and then Ndombele smashes it into the back of the net. Now I'm seeing this, and I'm thinking that's my captain personally. And we spent 80 million on this brother. How much of an L? I think we've mentioned this many times, but how big an L? Because let me just go around the group right now. And I'll start with Rue. Maguire, world class, yes or no?
No.
Is that a question?
Do you know what? Because I've heard a lot of people do say that he's got the potential to become world class, or he's got all the attributes of a world class defender. He just needs a better, someone who's better next to him. A lot of Manchester United fans seem to think that Maguire's already made, but the problem is the fact that he's not playing next to somebody who's decent or anything. So And that's why I posed the question: that is he world class? Do you think he's world class, or has the potential to become world class, or not? Because at this present moment in time, a lot of them seem to think Maguire will do the job. He just needs a better partner, if you will.
I really cannot find a way of justifying that he would be world class with a better partner beside him when he's yanking his own defender off the man. He is not world class. He should never. It is criminal that someone like Harry Maguire has been made captain of Manchester United. That is so backwards.
That was my next question, because I'm not too sure how that even, like, who voted that? Like, how did they even come up with that?
He's been there a season.
Raffle, bro.
He's the right man to lead that room, and quite frankly, he can't even lead himself to pull his opposite man off the rather than like, I'm still. Look, I think that whoever got that transfer through at 80 million from Leicester City deserves an MBE, because that is some serious work. It is fantastic for them. But I think the best thing for him is just, I don't think it's, let's look at who we get next to him, because they've tried with a couple of others next to him and he's still been useless. But get him to another club and just get him to grow his confidence back in a Leicester situation, because you can't dive in at Man United like that. He's clearly way out of his depth, and he just needs a bit of breathing room from all the pressure that's being put on him. I know he's got his whole, he's got captaincy, he's got this trial with what happened in Greece, he's got every bit of pressure landing on top. But he's, he how do you tell a player?
Sam, let me come to you next. I'm genuinely interested to find out what you think about this. You're a believer in Bruno Fernandes?
No, I'd never rated that brother. I don't care. Like, United fans. The thing is, he's good. Don't get twisted. I'm not gonna say he's not a good player, but the way United fans talk about him, I'm just like, all this guy's come and done is score penalties, man. That's all he's done.
Another one to take
12 goals.
And they got
man.
They got battered 6-1. Like, if I'm honest, bro, like, and even I'm talking about Maguire as well. That guy's still in Greece. He's actually
That's where he is. That's exactly where he is. You think his mind is at Old Trafford?
The thing is, I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I'm not saying that this is why he's playing badly, but I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on him, because if you look at the centre backs that have played for United before, he doesn't even compare. He doesn't compare to Rio. He doesn't compare to Vidic. Do you see what I'm saying? But one thing I'm gonna say is that I do think he'd do better in another league. I do think he's the type of defender that will do well in Serie A.
Serie A, I agree. His style of play, at the moment, with how intense the Premier League is, I think he gets found out a lot. Serie A is, I agree with Sam there.
He's in the top now as well, to be fair, because the whole team's playing badly. And the fact that he was playing badly before the whole team was playing badly is now added to the pressure a little bit. Yeah.
I don't want to, just zone in on just United, because regardless of how bad United were, we do have to give respect to the fact that Tottenham did the job. Because I keep saying it's not easy to be a 10-man team. It's not. Yeah. Regardless of who it is, it's not easy. So for them to put them away in the way they did, we'll come to Tottenham in a sec. But the next person or next thing or item I want to look at is, I'm going to throw this question out there because I struggle to see it myself, but this is just for everybody and anyone can come in at this point. Who is the bright spark in that Man United team at the moment? Who's like the one player that you can actually say, do you know what, he's actually been quite consistent, or he's actually been doing quite well, or he's actually our bright spark?
Greenwood.
Yeah.
I think Donny van der Beek.
Bro, Van der Beek already.
I think that speaks volumes, given the sense that he just came like a couple of days ago.
No, do you know why though? Because I feel like there's so much emphasis on Bruno Fernandes, there's so much emphasis on Pogba, yeah. But I guarantee you, if they play Donny van der Beek, we'll see his quality, and we'll see he'll probably get them ticking more better than than the likes of Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. Because them men have come with massive price tags, probably massive egos as well. Donny van der Beek just comes with a humble tip, and the brother can ball. It's just a matter of getting the opportunity, and I reckon when he gets the opportunity, we'll see. He might be the difference going forward. Who knows, isn't it? But that's what I'm going with.
It's true. I mean, I'd say the problem with United's midfield right now is, the problem with United right now, I'd say mainly is their midfield and that balance. They can't seem to find that balance to play Pogba. People were saying that Pogba and Fernandes will be the best partnership since what I don't know, bread and butter. But so far it hasn't worked out, and that really is literally just from the defense, get the ball to one of them and just hope for something. But so far that's not happened, and they're really struggling with it. Sorry to cut you off, Kurt.
No problem. I was just gonna say, just move it to Sam. Can you give me another bright spot, maybe, or do you agree with the same one?
I was gonna say Rashford. Like Rashford, for me, someone that if I was the manager of United, I'd look at him and be like, you know what, I feel like I can rely on this guy. He may not, because the only times I feel like he doesn't perform is when the rest of the team doesn't really do well. But I feel like he's still the guy. I don't have a bad thing to say about him.
Understandable. Well, moving on from Manchester United now, let's talk about Spurs quickly. We'll come to the question in the comment in a sec. But I want to throw this out there again, and I think I want to go individually first. I just want to say I want to get a yes or no answer. Him and Son, do you think he's probably the most all-rounded winger in the league right now? Rue, I'll start with you.
I'm so close to saying yes, but it's some games yes, some games no. Just for consistency of performance, I'll say yes.
Felix, what do you think about that?
I'll agree with Rue. I'll say yes, because we do see his qualities in certain games, but then in other games as well, he goes missing or he does like a few things here and there. But yeah, leaning towards yes, but just about.
Sam?
I'm saying no. I don't think he's the most all-rounded winger in the Premier League.
Do you have a name for who would be? I feel like I know. I know.
Well, yeah. I mean,
he's an absolute glitch.
He's a cheat code in the Matrix.
What about you, Nigel? What would you say?
In terms of most all-rounded, no, but he's knocking on that top three, because the top three, I'll give it Mane, Sterling, Salah, and Son is knocking on that door. And if he keeps knocking in the goals, then eventually we have to start paying respect to him and say, yo, because the only difference between those top three is them man get double figures. They've been doing it, last 2-3 seasons now. Son, you get hit and miss with Son sometimes, but if he does it again this season, then we need to start paying respect to him because he's doing a madness.
Understandable. I think moving on, just a statement quickly. What do you guys think about Harry Kane at the moment? He's turning in from a striker to become a bit of a central attacking midfielder with all the assists he's been getting, but I think it's something like 6 assists now. And comparing that with normally you would think 6 goals. But I think it might definitely be the system that Tottenham are starting to play, maybe starting to rely more on those wingers rather than just the main people up front. But if you were to play, what do you think of Tottenham? Let me just go to Nigel first. Like in an ideal or in a situation where Tottenham at the moment, it seems like Harry Kane is playing more as a centre forward rather than a striker.
To be honest, Harry Kane's had it in his locker from day. His link-up play, I've always rated it. He can drop in deep and spray an outside foot pass to his wingers. He's good in the air, can run in behind. So in all honesty, I'll consider him. He's a striker, but can play centre forward as well. So he could play it. I'll say he's a striker, but can play. But not many strikers can do that link-up play as good as him. I think that's in my opinion.
Anyone agree with that, or have you got anything else to say to that?
No, I agree. I think Kane's kind of playing in that position that Firmino plays for, getting those assists rather than scoring right now. And I think when Bale comes into the side, it's going to become a real problem. Like teams have to, if he hits form, teams should fear Spurs still. Because for me, I've always seen Kane as world class. Like I hate Tottenham, but Kane, like he scored some crazy goals.
Yeah.
Crazy goals, fam. Like outrageous goals, especially for a player with his type of pace. You know, a lot of teams in the Premier League wouldn't want a player that slow playing up top for them. But the fact that he can, you know, get the goals that he gets, for me, he's world class, and I think he can play in any league, any team in the world.
Yeah,
It's ironic you mentioned that, because my next question was actually going to be something a little bit different, but well, something along the same lines as what Sam mentioned. But I'll go to Felix with the next question then. Do you think Gareth Bale will upset the balance of the Tottenham team at the moment? Because they are playing quite well. Do you think it will upset the balance or improve it?
I can see why you say that it will upset the balance, because they've sort of had time to give that front three time to gel and to play well together, and we're starting to see the fruits of it. I don't necessarily think he would upset it. I think he would actually add to what they've got. It would bring a different dimension to what they've got, because we all know Bale and what he can do. So I genuinely think that he would add to it more than upset it, really.
What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching him sort of sit a bit deeper and try and. It's felt a bit sort of experimental from Jose to sort of tell him to do something different to being just this stereotypical sort of goal poacher that we've seen. So
this is on Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go on.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that a lot more. So, I don't know. It's a strange one, because I don't really see where I want. Like, if I'm thinking Spurs, I don't know where I want Bale to fit in now, because they've been so impressive almost without him that, you know, are they putting too much fuel on the fire in that attack? Because they've been so good up front. You know, the way they played today as well. I don't get it with their team, but you know, maybe I've watched enough Spurs to know that they have power up front. They have the ability to do play some of the best attacking football, but I just don't know why there is such a big need to go and add to a team that clearly works, and even when they're trying to experiment with it, is just getting better and better. So,
I feel you on that one. Moving on, Nigel, what do you think about that question about Gareth Bale? Do you think he'll upset the balance, or do you think he'll add to that Tottenham attack?
If we're talking about the Bale that left Spurs 7 years ago to go to La Liga, then he'll add to it. But we don't know what Bale we're going to get yet. We've got to take into consideration 7 years ago, the Prem ain't what it was 7 years ago. Now, it's gone a lot faster. It's a lot more physical. Bale was 31 years old. He had a lot of injuries whilst he was at Real Madrid. He can't do what he was doing, where he will pop it past man and do that. Remember that goal that he scored against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey? He can't do that. He can't do that no more. So it's either the Spurs are gonna have to adapt to his new style of play, or he might have to be on the bench until he's up to scratch. Who knows? I don't know, but I don't think he will disrupt, because I think what Mourinho has done this season is every season under Pochettino, Kane has always been injured and he's always been their talisman. And now Mourinho is now using the wingers a lot more. That's why we're getting a lot more goals from the likes of Son. You see Harry Kane dropping in deep, and he's finally got a replacement striker, and he's got an enforcer in midfield. I've always rated Højbjerg. So I think he's trying to now add more to it. So now they can get to that finish line and possibly win a trophy, because you can't solely rely on Harry Kane, man. It's not going to work. But in regards to what you're saying about the Bell, we're just going to have to wait and see. Only time will tell, because we don't know what Bell we're going to see in it.
True. All right, guys. To end the podcast again, we've got one main question actually that I've just seen in the comments right now, and I just kind of wanted to ask it. It's from someone named George, and he's asked us. And I'm going to go each and every person just a yes or a no, and just a quick maybe statement as to why. But we've got a question from George saying, "Do you think Sancho could save United at this point?" I'm going to start with Sam.
That's actually my guy, George Sloan. Damn, no. I even think that, coming into a team that are playing this badly at a price tag like that, I don't see a player playing well. I honestly don't see a player playing well. You're not going to get the same Sancho you're seeing at Dortmund. I think it might even ruin him, because this is the same thing that's happening with Pogba. The fact that they brought him in from Juve, where he was popping, £80, Adidas advert, all of this stuff. Man United are back, all of this. There's so much pressure. And look at him now, he's not that guy you see at Juve. And I think, it's all well and good to bring players in, pay that much money, but sometimes you just have to look at the situation and be like, you know what, will he actually be able to change this team around? The guy's 19 years old. What did he turn 20? I'm not sure, but he's around that age, and you can't expect a player that young to come in and change a team like Manchester United. Like, I don't see it happening, man. It will be a waste of money, in my opinion.
Nigel, what do you reckon? Sancho the savior?
Bro, Man United need deliverance, G. Sancho ain't gonna be the one that's gonna change the whole dynamics. I think if I was Sancho and I'm looking at the dynamics now, I'm thinking to myself, the way the British media is already as it is, if I go for a hefty price tag and I don't change things up, I'm putting a target on my own back. My whole life is gonna change, because the media are gonna be nullifying me, grilling me week in, week out, when it's not just the one player, it's the whole team. But because he's the Marquee signing with the transfer summer, with possibly 100 million, whatever, we don't know. Listen, I'll go and enjoy my life in Dortmund, the yellow brick wall, whatever they call it. I keep doing my assist, man. I still get called up for England. So I'm saying, it's long.
True. Felix, how about you? Sancho the savior? You buy that?
Oh no, nah. I don't think so. I agree with what the boys have said. For me, exactly what Nigel was saying. He will come in a hefty price tag. There will be an eagle eye on him from everyone. Obviously, one, because he's English, so he's immediately going to be under the spotlight. Any one game where he's off form already, he's already thrown under a bus, saying that no. And you know how, I mean, not all United fans are bad, but some of them will expect you to immediately literally flip a switch and turn things around. Because that's the thing, exactly. Literally from one game, they'll see him 10 minutes, 10-minute cameo, and they're already wanting him out. And that's the thing, because even if it comes in, that's not the area where they need to strengthen, or the area that they need to add players into. So it's not necessarily. It's literally just. You're just papering over cracks. It'll just be the hype of the excitement. Maybe they might pick up some results due to the hype, but it will slowly fade.
Rue, what do you think about that question with Sancho and everything? How do you feel about that?
Well, funnily enough, I've just seen the Premier League table come up, and it's just come up saying -6 on goal difference. That answers whether you need Sancho or not. I know I've had one big game in Scotland, but I think your problems don't lie in needing a £120 million winger. I think you need to take £120 million and spend it on defenders who aren't going to. I think you need to maybe consider. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I won't say consider a goalkeeper, because they've got Dean Henderson, they've got De Gea, so they should be all right there. I think sort your defence, find your best midfield trio, and work with the front three you've got, and then identify your next problems, because they've not got problems in attack. They've got plenty of them. Fergie left in 2013, right? So 7 years and 4 months, and they've managed to spend over £1 billion on transfers, and yet in return they've had one FA Cup, one League Cup, one Europa League. Start spending wisely, and then think about throwing 120 million on a teenage winger.
Well said. Well, that is the end of the podcast for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been an interesting one. There's always topics, as we keep saying, to talk about, but you know, make sure you look at our socials, as we say every week, at Reveal Footy on Twitter and on Instagram as well. We're gonna have a lot of these snippets coming out on there. We've always got news going on there, or facts and stuff from African footballers from all over the world. But thanks so much for joining us, guys. That's going to be the end of the podcast today. Keep the comments coming. Of course, we always want to know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. And we'll catch you next week for next week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.